Okay, and just to briefly introduce the team behind the Cloud Adoption Series, we're working on a series of other events as well. Of course, we have our speaker today, Manik Kashikar. Can you go back? And then Maitreyi, who is hosting today. Myself, I'm the Leadership Fellow for the Cloud Track. And then Nydia Medina, who is our Women Who Code Cloud Evangelist and works on all of our social media. So a lot of the our Cloud 101 series and other fun features, like our trivia quiz, for example, are all delivered by Nydia. And so next, I'm going to pass it on to Manik, who will get started with her talk and introduce herself.
Hey, thanks, Soap and Maitreyi. Good morning, good evening to everyone. I hope you are really excited with the topic that we are going through today. As Hope and Maitreyi already mentioned, this is a multi-part series that we have started. And, this is our very first session, which is kind of act as a foundation for our onward journey, which we are embarking very soon in order to reach the ultimately on the cloud. Yeah. So a quick introduction from my side. I'm Manik. I'm based out of India, Pune. I work as a tech solution architect at Thoughtworks. I have overall 18 years of experience, and I have largely worked in the domains like retail banking, corporate banking, investment, etc. Over the last couple of years, I have been working very closely with the banking clients in order to establish their journey to cloud and finally, ultimately, making them reach and successfully on the cloud. When it comes to my personal front and the fun things about me is like, I love shopping. I'd be ready for it anytime and all the time, basically. I love cats, though I don't have anyone right now, but I'm looking forward to it. And I have a very weird habit of, listening to the same song again and again. So that's little weird, but yeah, that's with me. So moving on, considering that we have a lot of agenda to cover today, before we start, I just wanted to ensure that, my screen is visible and it is all well equal.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So today's agenda goes like this. So we'll speak. We'll discuss first in terms of why moving to the cloud is so imperative. We'll see what is the journey looks like. What are the intermediate milestones that we should cover as a part of it, and then as part of our first session, which is more about the cloud readiness assessment, we will deep dive into how to do that assessment. What is the framework? What are the various aspects and the dimensions that we should look in order to make this assessment successful? And next, we will look at the best practices, some do's and don'ts, and if time permits, we will also discuss a use case about how to adopt and how to work towards conducting a cloud readiness assessment for merger case. All right, moving on. So here is some statistic I just wanted to bring to everyone's notice. And while all of us know the cloud adoption industry has been growing, and the reason for it is majorly because the remarkable growth the cloud adoption industry has adopted has been going through. It's quite evident, and the major reason for it is because we are adopting more and we are moving more and more towards the digitization. There has been a lot of change in the way we perceive things. There has been a lot of change in the way we work out, we operate today, and we innovate today. And that's one of the reasons the cloud adoption industry has been growing almost at an exponential scale. And these numbers are quite evident to tell you why this industry is growing. One of the major reasons why the enterprises and the organizations are very much interested to invest in the cloud adoption and embarking this journey is the reason being the outcomes and the potential value it unlocks for them, which majorly comes through the increase and the improvement in terms of the scalability, agility for their business, the high performance it delivers. And ultimately, as you reach and move your ecosystem to the cloud, eventually you start also gaining the improvements in terms of the cost spent or bringing the cloud cost efficiency for your enterprise. And these numbers, I'll just also show you some of more surveys and the reports from the Gartner that are quite evident and shows here that why there has been a potential and a high adoption of cloud today. So the industry currently has embarked the growth of 1.2 trillion, and it is expected to grow almost towards to the value of 1.8 trillion by 2027. Today, the enterprises are spending almost 520 billions in terms of adopting the cloud and migrating their workloads on cloud. And of course, this has to be this is also expected to grow as and when more and more industries and enterprises are embarking their journey to the cloud. While all the good parts we have seen so far, and by now I'm sure you would have understood that this industry and the cloud adoption has a great potential to grow, and so the developers or so the practitioners who work for cloud. However, while cloud has unlocked a lot of opportunities and growth for all of us, not just the enterprises, it is very important to do and to do this journey successfully in order to reach your ultimate goal. And that's the reason the very first and the very foremost thing is to understand that why there is a need and what are the key business drivers for moving to the cloud. Moving to the cloud cannot be just an aspiration because everybody else is doing it, but there has to be some well identified drivers which are coming from your business side, which are coming from your tech side, and there has to be a there need to be a very much clarity needed in terms of driving your business strategy as well as driving your tech strategy, that why it is very important for your business, for your enterprise to move to the cloud. While we start talking about this topic and start listing various reasons why there is a need to move to the cloud, it could end up with a long list of reasons. But with the interest of time, I just highlighted a couple of very important or the typical problems that enterprises face today when they are on-prem or they are going into the hybrid model of cloud adoption. And that's one of the reasons they think to move to the cloud fully. So let's look at the reasons here. So, the typical problems is often the big enterprises. I worked with the banks, so I can quote some of the examples. So often these banks have a lot of legacy systems which are very tightly coupled. They have got a lot of dependencies. And in general, either everyone, as a part of the bank and the key stakeholders, they have a fear to touch these legacy systems. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to disturb it. They adopt a fashion that whatever is working, let it work. A fine day or not a fine day, when it stops working, we'll see how to deal with it. But that's not the right way to deal with it. It is because ultimately these legacy systems will be your bottlenecks to move to the cloud. Hence, at the right time and at the right moment, it is very important to identify why are these systems your bottlenecks, what are the dependencies it is causing you for your business, and what are the inefficiencies it is adding while and slowing down your innovation opportunities for your business and for your enterprise. So that could be one of the cause of moving to the cloud. The next could be that the set of the various applications and the ecosystem on which it is deployed, it has been very high when it comes to the maintenance cost of the same, and day by day your operational cost has been increasing, and it is also causing a tech debt for you. So it's really a worrying situation, and that's where you should take a call of bringing that change. The next could be, the data center capacity is bothering you, the data center cost is bothering you, and to avoid or improve the cost or the spend you are doing currently on data centers, you could also think of doing the data center consolidation. And if some of your resources, or let's say you have a TIPCO license, or you are as a part of your enterprise architecture, you have a very heavy ESB, let's say, I'm just giving indicative frameworks and the tool names. Don't really go by the names. So let's say you have a very heavy ESB provided by the MuleSoft, and you are carrying a heavy license of it. It has almost reached end of the life, or the expiry is set for next year, and so you have two options there. Do you want to renew that, or do you want to make a good step of moving to the cloud? So these are some of the decision points you should think of when it comes to, and what are the factors you should weigh here. You should weigh here in terms of, what is your cloud investment will give you as an outcome. Is it bringing you the cost efficiency as a long run? Is it bringing you good performance at scale for your enterprise or for your applications? So these are the parameters you should check and take this decision very wisely. Another one of the very familiar reason of moving to the cloud is the enterprise-wide digital transformation strategy. So then your enterprise, a large organization or a big bank has some leadership directive has initiated that our digital transformation journey will kick off, and every application, every workload has to move to the cloud by, let's say, 2027. So you are contributing to the enterprise initiative there. There could be some regulatory constraints and the industry specific constraints that you need to achieve. And your public clouds, like the leading CSP providers, be it AWS, be it Google, they are already providing and have already tackled those scenarios in order to handle those regulations on cloud. And so that you don't need to think from the scratch, and you don't need to really reinvent the wheel, but you just need to move to the cloud, and the CSP provider will take care of it. So these are some of the reasons and the aspirational moves and the key business drivers why enterprises can think of moving to the cloud. While moving to the cloud is a great thing, but often it has been observed that it comes as an aspiration, but sometimes enterprises really doesn't know where to start, why to start, and how to start. And that's where our today's session would be a great foundation and a starting point for them. So a quick examples why generally the enterprises are little cognizant about starting the cloud journey. And there could be some of the reasons, like they have tried it multiple times in the past, but it has failed. There could be looming business imperatives. Next is there are very important factors like people, process, and technology. The people are very reluctant to adopt to the cloud because it requires a cultural mindset, and and also sometimes it needs the organization's people to improve in terms of the skills, and that actually exposes their current skill level, which they fear about, the fear of losing out. That's one of the reason, sometimes we have seen a lot of reluctance from, the people that they don't want to adopt, or they don't let the organization to embark this journey. While all these reluctances are in place, but still we wanted to start the cloud journey. So in a nutshell, whenever you are starting a cloud journey, there are three important aspects one should look into. That is, the technology part is very important. The business drivers are very important. Next comes the people and the processes that are part of your organization. And since it's a continuous journey, like it is not a hop that today you are on prem and tomorrow, ultimately you are reaching. It's a journey. It's not a hop that you will directly move to the cloud. So you have to carefully consider all these various dimensions while moving to the cloud. So let's see, how can you actually embark your cloud journey. So, according to the experts, I'll say the cloud journey is a four-stop solution. It starts from understanding the why part of it, and doing the pulse check, which starts with an assess and strategize. The next is we get into the plan and mobilize phase, where we actually try to understand what are the business goals and what are the key drivers, and how could we help enable these organizations to kickstart their cloud journey. And we prepare a plan for them. We prepare a very detailed, granular roadmap of step-by-step guide of how the organizations can embark their cloud journey. The next step is migrate and modernize, where we actually, this is nothing but an execution step, where what we do is we start actually executing the plan that we have prepared in a plan and mobilize phase. And once the whole plan has been executed with a careful testing, which is being done on the cloud, and we slowly move to the phase of start gaining the benefits of cloud, because we are fully on the cloud, and we start observing how our applications are working on the cloud. What is the end customer's experience while our workloads have been moved to the cloud? Are the experience and the feedback we are gaining, are the experience and the feedback that we have gained from the customer point of view or from the end user's point of view, is it positive or negative, or there are some serious constraints that we actually have caused while moving to the cloud? Then operate and optimize phase is nothing but where it's our course correction phase, wherein any pitfalls that we observe while we are on the cloud, we start course correcting them by taking or enhancing our approach that we have already taken or migrated our workloads to the cloud. And that's the reason this phase is called operate and optimize, wherein we continuously monitor the user journeys. We continuously it's nothing but a feedback loop to gain the experience from the customers, and take a proactive, initially taking a reactive approach to solve their problems, and later on getting proactive to solve their problems, and start optimizing your workloads and start optimizing your cloud environment to bring more efficiency and improve customer experience. So this is a four-stop solution to achieve or ultimately reach the cloud, for the various enterprises. And as part of today's session, we will deep dive further in the part which is called the very first stop, which is assess and strategize. Now we have seen the journey. Now let's get into what we really do as a part of assess and strategize. So as the name of today's topic says, we are going to conduct a cloud readiness assessment. And in order to conduct that assessment, we need a framework. This framework is nothing but a cloud readiness framework. While this is a kind of a framework that we have built, which is kind of a generic model, while we conduct an assessment for an enterprise, for an organization, it needs to be carefully customized, okay, based on the needs and the business goals and the strategy of that particular organization. The second aspect we should bring into picture is the domain aspect. Which domain your enterprise belong to? Is it a retail domain? Is it a fashion industry? Is it a banking domain? So basis on the domain your enterprise belong to, you will have to bring that flavor of domain aspect as well while doing this cloud assessment. Now let's see what this readiness assessment is. Now while there are various dimensions of doing the cloud readiness aspect, but importantly, we need to consider these 4 areas or the 4 dimensions, to conduct this assessment, for the organization and enterprise. So let us look at the various aspects of it. The first dimension is business and technical processes. Now, what is this area? This dimension, it is more about, understanding the business point of view of the organization, as well as understanding the tech side of it, the architecture side of it. And often, I'm sure you guys have also experienced it. At least I have experienced it while working for the clients, that business talks something, technical or the architecture board talks something, and they're both, the vision of business as well as the tech sometimes lies far apart. And that's one of the reasons that while you do this assessment, you talk to the business stakeholders as well as you talk to the architecture board, plus you talk to your technical, or the engineering teams, and try to see what is the wavelength there, how are they handshaking, what is the collaboration model between them, are they coming to the agreement in term when it comes to, let's say a new feature release, what is their end-to-end collaboration model, how well they are gelling it, what is their ways of working, etc. The next area is about the organization alignment. The organization alignment typically covers the areas like, what is their overall governance model. Given an enterprise of any scale, typically they will have various teams, some of their business unit teams, some of their cross-functional team, where example being the security and the compliance team, or the platform team, which will work along with all the various business units. And in addition to this, there will be a architectural decision board committee, there would be a steerco committee. Now, we first need to understand that what are the various governing bodies currently the organization have, and why this is important. This is important in order to define the future cloud operating model. Plus, it is very much important to understand their current state to define their future cloud governance model. Okay. Now, because the reason it is very much important to understand this is because so that we don't duplicate multiple roles across various BUs or the governance model that we are building. Because if we define multiple or duplicate roles at each and every business unit or each and every governing bodies, it might create a lot of confusion as well as conflict. The next aspect to look at is the automation technology. So it is also the next part to understand about the current organization is what is their working model when it comes to the release and the deployment strategy, how fast they are able to roll out the new features, what is their time to market, what are the non-functional parameters, and what are their KPIs, are they able to meet the customer experience, are they able to have a good performance for their various workloads which are currently deployed on premise, what are the engineering practices that they are following, do you see any gaps on that? Because any gaps that you observe while assessing it, it's an opportunity for you to help them move to the cloud by improving or filling up those gaps by providing the recommendations. Next very important dimension is the risk and compliance. When you work for an organization which is highly regulated, this is an important piece because security, having the risk and compliance is very utmost important for them. And secondly, what are the security guardrails that this organization carries? Now, when you move to the cloud, you have to carry that baggage of the risk, compliance, and the security guardrails that have been implemented currently by the organization when on-prem. In addition to this, you also need to ensure that some additional guardrails that applies to when the applications or the workloads deployed to the cloud. You also need to consider and apply all those guardrails. And that's the reason having a very robust cloud readiness framework is very important. So our next slides are taking inspiration from this base foundation framework of cloud readiness framework, and let's deep dive further on this. So we are at the first stop of our cloud journey, which is assess and strategize. And as we discussed, we are actually focusing today on cloud readiness assessment. So there are 4 sub steps, I will say, to conduct the cloud assessment. The first one is align, second is discover and assess, third is evaluate, and the fourth is plan. A quick one-liners on this is, align is nothing but understand the business and tech vision, align with the key stakeholders, understand their expectations of adopting to the cloud, what they want, what are their ultimate goals, what are their short-term, medium-term, long-term milestones that they are looking forward while they embark this journey to cloud. Once we understand this, we move to the next step, which is discovery and assessment. So wherein, we do a thorough scrutiny of their ecosystem. What are the applications, what type of workloads that they have? We build an inventory map, and that inventory map, we look through various, the next phase is we evaluate those inventories through various dimensions and the angles, and we try to assess this in terms of prioritizing and identifying which are the workloads which are good to or ready to move to the cloud directly, which needs a little revamp, and which are good to be only on the premise, and which can be we'll also need to figure out which of the workloads with a little bit of re-architecting or refactoring are good to move to the cloud. So that's an evaluation phase. Once this has been done, we move to the planning phase, wherein we conduct a wave planning exercise, and we define a roadmap along with the recommendations we provide in order to how to start their journey to cloud. Okay, so this is our assessment framework, and let's quickly deep dive into it. The first one being the align phase, wherein what we typically do is you make use of we conduct a series of workshops and the interviews with the key stakeholders of the enterprise for whom you are working for their assessment, and this involves exits from the top category till the business leaders, the tech leaders, wherein we conduct a lot of workshops and the interviews with them in order to understand their business, their priorities, their constraints, and what are the timelines they are looking for it. Once this data has been captured and gathered, we internally conduct a very high level assessment in terms of what is something that we could offer to this enterprise. And that's where the second step here comes as part of Align, which is an expectation setting. As part of the expectation setting, what we do is we identify the in-scope items for it, what we can deliver, what we cannot deliver in the first phase, and what could be the high-level roadmap, like basically defining your short-term milestones, the mid-term milestones, and the long-term milestones. Like, let's say, starting today, down the line, after 6 months, what is something you could see on the cloud? What are the in-scope items? What are the out-of-scope items? What are the dependencies we have? If it's a multi-vendor ecosystem, what are the checkpoints we need to have with these key stakeholders? We also define the various ceremonies and the frequency in which we wanted to run the various, be it, conducting the red log assessment or conducting the status reporting with these clients. We do all kinds of expectation settings in this step. The next is whatever we have published them as a part of an expectation setting, there is a detailed walkthrough, and we actually kind of help them envisionize the overall program setup. And once the both parties, right, your client agrees to what you are trying to set up for them, and the deliverables, the timelines, once that has been agreed, the program gets kicked off. So now we are moving to the next step, which is discover and assess. Now in the discover and assess step, what we typically do is we try to identify what are the various categories of workloads that you will be dealing with while doing this assessment. So it could be the various sports product, it could be a custom based applications, there could be huge number of databases, there could be a lot of SaaS products you will be dealing with. You might have to completely revamp your platform things. You might have to completely re-establish your delivery infrastructure while we move to cloud. So these are the various aspects, and this is how you typically identify the various type of workloads you will be dealing with. And what you do with this is, how do you identify the list of workloads is by conducting a series of discovery sessions in each of the areas. So what are those various areas? Some of the examples, I mean, this is a long list, but just to quote is, you will do an infrastructure discovery, that what are those what kind of services, what kind of servers, compute, storage, network, guardrails that the current ecosystem has, and what you will need in your targeted system. You will also try to identify the application dependencies, which will help you to do the prioritization while you move your workloads to the cloud. And this is a long list. You can quickly go through, but with the interest of time, I think I'll move on to the next slide. So while we conduct the workload discovery here, it is nothing but building an inventory. So that the right hand side, you see a lot of various icons with different colors and the dimensions. It is nothing but a inventory map. It is nothing but a list of all your workload types, which you have, seen through, and it has passed through by assessing these various workloads, by looking at their business impact, what is the technical fitment in terms of the cloud readiness, what are the risks associated with these workloads while we try to move them to the cloud, and what is the total cost of ownership you need to take into consideration while moving to the cloud. Because I'll share a very practical example that while we have embarked this journey for various banks, it also happened that their infrastructure cost has initially actually has increased compared to the on-prem cost. When they first moved to the cloud. However, ultimately, after we moved to the optimized phase, we have been successful to brought that cost down, to a great extent. But this is a real example that sometimes when you move to the cloud, initially the cost, the TCO increases when compared to the on-premise. So looking at various lenses, you build an inventory map, and the next step is you take this inventory map, and what you do is you try to conduct a rationalization exercise. What you do is you assess each of these workloads through various dimensions. Like in the first one, you will see that you have assessed the various workloads from a technical fitment perspective and for the business impact perspective. Okay, so this is in this quadrant, right? This says that the business impact of these workloads is very high and the technical fitment is very low. However, when you consider this quadrant, the business impact is very high and the technical fitment is also very high. Okay, that means these workloads these workloads can be prioritized to move to the cloud, because you have to do very less work when it comes to the technical coverage of it, or you literally have to do very less job while and you can easily move these workloads to the cloud. Now, this is the first dimension of looking at it. The second dimension could be that you take this input and reassess your inventory map by checking what is the risk associated of moving these workloads to the cloud and what is the cost associated to it. Now, after going through this exercise, you build the rationalization maps, which is nothing but a portfolio analysis. So as an outcome of the previous step is nothing but you got the various portfolios, various catalog of portfolios, and which are nothing but a prioritized, rationalized maps. Meaning the portfolio one, the list of workloads, or the bucket list of workloads that belongs to this portfolio are the easy gains or the quick wins when it comes to moving to the cloud. Okay, and that way you prioritize your portfolios. The next is, what we do is we reassess this portfolio with the 7R strategy. Do you know what is 7R strategy? It is nothing but a decision tree. This is a classic 7R decision tree provided by the AWS, wherein we decide which applications to retire because they are not providing much business value. Secondly, there are very less end customers, or the customer user base is very less. So it is good to retire them rather than moving it to the cloud. The next is, it is good, there might be some applications which is practically it is better to retain them on the cloud, on premise, and continue to operate it from cloud, because it doesn't add much value to move to the cloud, or while we move to the cloud it is very expensive. And similarly, there are other aspects to it, like refactoring, repurchasing. We'll see it, what does it all means. Okay, so once we got this prioritized map of portfolios, we reassess them in terms of the business value. Remember this, please see this arrow. This says that whenever you go for a re-architecting of any application, it delivers a high business value. However, the time it takes to re-architect or move that application to the cloud will also be high, because you are completely revamping your application. Yeah. So basis on we literally evaluate each of these portfolios by going through these decision metrics and decide which applications fit best, which is the best case for re-architect, which of these applications are good to rehost, which are good for re-platform. So when it comes to the re-platform case, typically, the DB migrations are typically follows this path of re-platforming. On-prem, you are on Oracle, you're moving to AWS, you will use some of any DB, any managed service for database. And, you just migrate your database workloads on the managed service on AWS. So various factors are contributing to decide, and this is a classic algorithm or the navigation or a workflow which will help you to decide which portfolio is good fit and the best fit to follow the R strategy. Okay. Now, once this has been done, we literally bucket our portfolios or various workloads in the waves. Now, the waves have been defined basis upon the prioritization. Second, the waves have been planned basis upon the time it takes to move to the cloud. The workloads which are easy to migrate to the cloud, which will fall into the waves 1, 2, like that, and the workloads which are tricky or which needs a redevelopment or a refactoring or re-architect will fall into the later waves. So, and with this we got our migration waves. The next is this is the last step, wherein once we got our wave planning, we actually build our roadmap in terms of the timelines that which we do typically as a wave 0 planning, and from wave 1 onwards we actually showcase client our plan that when these wave 1 workloads will be on cloud, when the wave 2 workloads will be on the cloud, and like that. So this is a very detailed plan that you publish to the cloud, to your client. You get a sign off, and finally, and that's how you move to the next phase of your 4-stop journey to moving to the cloud. And as an outcome of this assess and strategize phase, these are the sample, I will say, very indicative and a representative deliverables that you are expected to deliver to your client. So you have to, provide a couple of assessment reports, which includes the current state analysis, the desired state that you wanted to achieve, and that's where based on the desired state and based on the current state, you conduct a gap analysis and you publish a gap analysis report. You share your understanding about their technical landscape. You build your application rationalization scoreboard, which is nothing but the maturity analysis of their various workloads, where it stands currently. And there are various tools and the frameworks that have been provided by AWS, such as Cloud Adoption Framework, which literally provides you a detailed guidelines in order to how to assess the various aspects and the dimensions that we have seen as a part of our framework. It literally also provides you a very detailed set of questionnaires that you can use as a base while you conduct various workshops and interviews with the client. So one such framework that AWS provides is, as I said, CAF, which is the Cloud Adoption Framework. The next is it also provides you various other tools which will help you to assess your migration waves. And it also, there is another tool which provides you which is nothing but a migration evaluator, which will help you to evaluate the various workloads. And it also provides you, a kind of indicative to be state, like, my workload is currently, let's say, on IBM AIX server today on premise. What would be the service, or what would be the server or a VMware or a virtual machine that I should use to deploy that same workload when I move it to the cloud? So this is a indicative or a reference guide is also being provided by AWS for various type of workloads. So, whenever you try to embark this journey for your clients, do leverage these various tools and framework that have been provided by AWS. Coming back to this slide again, you will also see here, some of the sample reports that AWS provides, which is one of them is a migration readiness assessment. So it auto performs this. It's a small agent that you need to embed into the client environment. If the client is not ready to have this, then you could conduct this assessment manually through the interviews and the workshop forums. And the second report, which is also an AWS reference, an indicative report, which actually shows the current maturity state in terms of the score. So the blue, the blue section that you see is nothing but the current maturity state of the workloads, or current maturity state of that enterprise. And the last circle, right, this is what is expected to be achieved while we move to the cloud, which is nothing but our desired state. Moving on very quickly, what are the don'ts while you conduct cloud readiness assessment? So some of the thumb rules is, do not overlook the legacy systems, because if you overlook them while you do the assessment, they could be potential showstoppers and roadblocks for you while you embark this migration journey for your client. Don't ignore the data residency. Don't ignore the challenges behind data migration. The typical challenge I wanted to quote here while we migrate the data kind of workloads is those kind of data workloads which maintains the transaction state. It is very difficult, and you need a very thorough analysis how to migrate these kind of workloads which are maintaining the transaction states. Like, you are doing a bank transaction, transferring some X amount from account A to account B. Now, whatever the intermediate state, right, that this transaction carries, it is nothing but the state of transaction data. So these kind of workloads are very needs a very careful consideration while you move them to the cloud. The next is, don't ever ignore the company's governance and the compliance and the regulatory guidelines, because it will completely make your migration plans go for a toss. Don't rush your assessment, while the client would always be behind you, that for how long you will be only conducting the assessment. You are taking a lot of our time, but just ignore and do your job carefully and sincerely, because this will definitely lead to a successful migration, and ultimately your client will be very happy. Do not underestimate the skill gaps and the trainings that the organization or your client organization will need while they move to the cloud. There would be high chances that the required skills are not available. So, while you conduct this assessment, you may indicate your client that these are the skills not available with you currently, and you may go either to upskill your current workforce, or you may go for hiring of these skills. Okay, some of the good and the best practices to conduct during the cloud readiness assessment is have a clear objectives defined, get a thorough understanding in terms of the business technical goals. Often I have seen, and I'm sure if you have conducted these kind of assessment, you will see a lot of conflicts and a lot of gaps when you talk to the business folks and when you talk to the tech folks. Because everyone's perception to look at cloud is very different, and everyone perceptions and the business outcomes while you move to the cloud, what they wanted to achieve, their goals would also be different. Ensure you do a very comprehensive workload analysis while you recommend anything to migrate your workloads to the cloud. Be cognizant when it comes to the cloud cost. Follow the best practices in terms of cloud cost optimization, and create a very detailed roadmap and add some buffer while you propose any roadmap to the client, because any small gap or any small aspect that you overlook might lead to some delays in terms of the execution, and your overall execution or plan of executing and migrating the workloads to the cloud may go for a toss. So having a very detailed cloud readiness assessment is very, very important, because it acts as a foundation for you and because it is a first step of your cloud journey. And having a very detailed and agreed recommendations along with your client will help you to successfully achieve the desired state on cloud. I think with this, good that we are exactly on time. And thank you very much for listening to me. And over to you, Maitreyi. If happy to take any questions if there are any.
Great. That was an amazing information one. So yes, we have one question, which is this cloud adoption data for India, or is it only specific for a country?
No, it's not specific to India. It's not specific to any country. It's a very generic and a high level data that I took from the the Gartner side. And just to note, I see they keep on updating it. So the time I took this data, and right now, if you see their report, you might see some changes in terms of the numbers.
Great, thank you.
I have a question.
Are there any questions?
Yes, yeah, sure. I've got a question. Okay. So since this is the cloud adoption series, and so we've got quite a few ahead, can you give us a hint as to what to expect or what other topics you'll be covering?
Okay, is it a question to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen this four-stop journey, right? I would like our participants to give a very good, insightful knowledge sessions going forward in order to how to ultimately reach on the cloud, and while you reach on the cloud, how to continuously optimize and make more optimizations on the cloud, and at the same time opening lot of avenues to innovate further. on the cloud. So one of the aspects to look at it is, and which is a pressing issue nowadays for various industries and for various enterprises, those who have moved to the cloud, is FinOps, how to control the cloud cost, how to control and reduce the waste when you move to the cloud. And so just to keep it short, I think I would like to do a very detailed sessions about the 4-stop journey that we have discussed. In addition to this, I would like to have a detailed session in terms of how to best practices to improve the cloud cost when on cloud. And in addition to this, I would also like to briefly talk in terms of the Gen AI use cases that one could explore while your workloads are on cloud.
So just based on we have quite a few sessions mapped out, and what we have mapped out for the next session is a cloud strategy exploration, and we'll be defining, or you'll be defining as our expert in residence, defining cloud strategy to optimize performance on the cloud and to reduce cost regardless of where you are on your cloud journey as an organization. Yeah, so thank you everyone for attending. We'd love to see you at our meet and greet this Sunday. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, or you can send an email to cloud@womenwhocode.com. And thanks again, Manik. And thank you so much, Maitreyi. Yeah, it's great having you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah.
We hope that it was helpful for everybody. And yes, thank you once again for joining us and making it successful as always.
All right, so that's it for now. And yeah, we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.